Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 49 of Podcast of Five Rings, your source of enlightenment in the realm of video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast of Five Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes, SoundCloud, and topic by topic, day by day on YouTube, with the full video releasing on Friday. To catch updates about the podcast or for other news, give us a follow on your social media platform of choice, listed in the description below. I'm your host, GM, and overseer of Podcast of Five Rings, Obsidian, joined tonight by the resident wildcard, Mao.
Yo.
Dark Fortune Duelist Meta.
Hiya.
And the wall that will not fall, Tetsuo. He must have fell. He fell. He's gone.
Oh no!
The Shadowlands got him.
Not do my hello. I helloed.
It did not.
Your robot voice, Tets.
You're forever denied.
I'm just kidding. You're not robot voice. I was going to see if I can get a reaction out of you.
Don't lie to him like that.
I just jinxed it. I just jinxed
too
it.
often.
I just jinxed it. It's going to happen now.
Look what you've
The rest
done.
of the episode.
Look what you've done.
I know not what I do with this power. Oh my god. Well, it's been a long week, and I'm glad it's almost over. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel.
Yep. The sleepies and the yawns. That's exactly what I'm suppressing. Man. You're just letting it all hang out, and I'm just trying to suppress it.
I can't even hide it.
Poor Tets has been on like 10 hours of sleep for like all week.
Yeah.
Monday night to up through last night, I think total I've gotten maybe 10 hours.
He retroactively saw the God of War reviews, and now he's just like super excited for it in the future. That's all it is.
I'm pretty excited about it because it is God of War Norse style, so I mean...
Yeah, it's gonna... We've talked about it before. It looks cool.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess we'll just get right on into this thing we're doing here.
Sure.
Mal's starting us off. So
all right.
You go ahead.
Well, we're getting real close to the release of Avengers: Infinity War, so I figured we could talk about the MCU
As a whole.
Sure. I mean, they're coming up on their 19th movie.
I'm against it.
All of it?
I don't know.
All right, list the pros and cons, Meta. You can't
List
just
the pros
make a
and cons.
blanket statement.
Pro, it's MCU. Con, it's definitely MCU.
Pro, it's not the DCU.
It's not DC.
Or DCCU, I guess.
No, wait, I'm against it. Hold on. Let me flip that around. Con, it's MCU. Pro. No, wait, damn it, I've done it again. I can't do this.
Anywho.
I'm really bad at this whole thing.
Yeah, you are. But
Real honesty.
The first one was Iron Man back in 2008. In the last decade, they're coming out with their 19th here in a few weeks.
Dude, it feels like it's been longer than a decade
Right
to
about-
me.
Right about 2 a year, almost-ish.
Yeah, May 2nd was the release date for Iron Man.
Wow.
Yeah.
That actually is true. It's almost 2 a year.
Yep, and they
So-
moved the day up.
Yeah. I think it's just become one of my favorite franchises, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a lot of people's. It's safe to say by
Yeah,
how successful it is.
No one else has really accomplished this sort of thing.
We see, like, we see series where it's always like you create a movie and then generally they make a sequel for it, and the sequel's never generally as good as the original, and then maybe do a trilogy, maybe, and then it ends. But for this, there's never really. I mean, I guess some of them are sequels. You can argue that they are. I mean, like, you've got Captain America, and then you've got like Winter Soldier, and then you've got Civil War. But they're all wonderful. I mean, this isn't just like a series that's like, it's not, Prepare to Fight. It's not the Transformer series, which seems to have survived somehow.
Oh my god.
Yeah. This is a series that's actually good.
People just want to watch things blow up.
I guess so. But you can do that and still be good. That's not. And I mean, we see that shit all the time though in the MCU. We see shit blow up all the time. We see great fighting scenes, and it's well told. It's great the whole way through. It's probably you're absolutely right. It's like the first of its kind.
Yeah, I mean, you've got like what Harry Potter was 8 movies, but that was like following a following a book series very closely. You've got James Bond,
the greatest series of all time.
Standalones.
The greatest series of all time. You're forgetting it. Twilight.
No, no.
The 5 Twilight.
Just
I don't even know how Twilight movies there are.
There were 5. I thought. Wait,
was there? I don't know. There's like
No,
5 or 6, isn't there?
There was 3 books. 3 books.
3 books, 4 movies. I think.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. 5, 4, whatever. Same number.
Okay.
4 fingers.
4 fingers.
No, I honestly though I think part of where it grabbed some of that success in what it's doing is that it didn't shy away from material in its source material's complexity in the way that movies tend to. Like movies tend to say, our viewers, we need to dumb down some of the stuff for our viewers, whether for good or bad, true or false. That we need to make it more accessible, whereas comic books are just mix, and they're not afraid to do that.
I actually kind of have to agree sometimes. I mean, not to say that's the case for everything, because that's never the case, but I'm going to preface that just because. But there are times where movies have been slightly dumbed down, or made more... I don't want to say dumbed down. They weren't dumbed down, but they were made more accessible. And that, unfortunately, means taking certain things out that were a part of it.
I think part of it is the MCU kind of like they're not following Harry Potter was like they have to cut stuff because of the format change, but like they're following it pretty closely. This is like its own. It's the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's its own universe. Like they definitely take things from the comics, but they the Mandarin. They did their own thing with that.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
And it was great.
They aren't afraid to do the same type of like complexity that comic books are known for, unlike other movies. That's all I was meaning.
No other. What is it? What are they called now? I can't remember. Is it just no? What was? I guess they're just called cinematic universes, or
pretty
kind
much.
of the same. That were trying to everyone was trying to pop up their own, and they just all keep.
Remember the Dark Universe that was going to happen,
and
the Mummy is probably the worst blockbuster movie I've ever seen. I wanted to kill myself, and it was a living nightmare.
They wanted to. I believe. Who did the newest Mummy?
Yeah, Universal Studios. They were trying to redo all their old.
Yeah, they tried to front load like all of the cinematic universe tie-ins to it because there was like Dr. Jekyll and other characters I can't remember.
Yeah. They wanted to do like a whole cinematic.
They were gonna do the Invisible Man, Wolfman, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what's everyone's kind of favorite movies for these? Anyone like anything or?
I want Tets to go first because.
I knew you were going to say that somehow.
Because you're the one. Yeah, because you're the one who's the most lukewarm on the MCU. So that's why your opinion's the most interesting.
I mean, I'm the most lukewarm on it. Just because I don't see movies when they immediately come out doesn't mean I'm lukewarm on it.
I mean, how many of the 18 movies out have you seen?
Yes.
15 of them.
How many? You keep cutting out.
15. Sorry, 15. 15.
15.
That's not bad.
So
which one is? Which one or few? Which ones do you like the most? I guess. What style? Because you get a lot of choices.
Like, I was gonna say honestly, for me, it's a matter of what mood am I in, and then that's the type. Like, if I want something that's fun, like just kind of like a romp, I'm gonna go to something that's more. Thor or Guardians of the Galaxy. If I'm wanting to, more wanting battle suits a mood, but I guess it kind of isn't. But then I'll go to Iron Man. Hell, I'm almost caught up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I know is MCU, but not. But sometimes
they have a weird relationship with their TV stuff. It's like it falls down. It doesn't.
They got an on again, off again relationship.
The movies never reference the TV stuff.
Yeah.
Probably the best.
Yeah, I was just saying that Coulson's coming back because He's coming back in Captain Marvel because it's in the past, along with Ronan the Destroyer from Guardians.
Ronan's
cool.
in freaking that movie.
Yeah, Captain Marvel.
Wow, I'm surprised they brought him back because people did not like Ronan.
Yeah, he was kind of blah. Maybe a little. Well, I think it's going to be Skrulls versus Kree, and that she gets involved in.
Yeah.
So we'll also be the first we get to see Skrulls in
Probably.
the MCU.
They don't want to use them for that Fantastic Four they got back.
Yeah, the Fantastic Four are finally coming back to the comics after what event was it? Secret World. They decided to stay out of the universe, kept spawning off new ones. It was weird. But yeah, so is there one in particular you just really enjoy, Tats?
I would probably say Guardians 2, just because that's the most fresh one for us.
For us? For
Sorry,
you?
us, my wife and I. 'Cause
Okay.
I'm not allowed to watch the movies without her, so we tend to be in accord. I apologize. I spoke with the royal we. If I mentioned I'm tired.
Yes.
I think that's probably it for me personally, just because it's the most recent Marvel movie I've seen.
I got
And so it's kind of new, the freshest.
So it's probably just the newer ones you haven't seen.
Well,
anything past that, basically?
So what I haven't seen is Thor, Black Panther, and Spider-Man.
The new Thor.
Yeah, Ragnarok.
Yeah, the newest
three
one.
after
Yeah,
Guardian.
Gotcha. What's yours,
As
Meta?
well, but-
Oh, that's hard.
What topped the list for you?
I think the one that I've watched probably the most has to be Deadpool. No. Although I do like that movie a lot.
Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, Batman versus Superman is my favorite MCU. That's part of the MCU, right? I don't know. Like, I think probably the one I've enjoyed the most had to be Guardians of the Galaxy. I think I've just watched that one the most. But
Yeah.
I would say the Avengers in general are just fun.
All the team ups.
The team ups are very fun. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Civil War I've seen more than once or twice.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard for me to say because I don't think any of them have ever stood out as being, oh, this is clearly better than the rest.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely some that are not as good as others.
I probably would state that, but I don't know. Maybe I'm not critiquing them hard enough. Let me get my critiquing glasses on. Hold on.
Get your top hat, your monocle.
Yeah, monocle, top hat, my cane. Oh. I would probably just state Guardians of the Galaxy is just the one I've sat down and watched the most. I have enjoyed that one. I like the cast of characters. I like how they are kind of very much a mismatch of individuals. They are your adventuring party, and that is something I just enjoy about them.
Yeah, it's the most like a tabletop game out of any of the movies. For sure.
I enjoy them for who they are and like the hilarity of what they can bring. Plus I absolutely adore the soundtrack. So
yeah, it's really good.
Oh yeah.
I'm almost with Meta. There's so many good ones that I don't know what my favorite one is for sure. I think like the best one from a movie making standpoint is Winter Soldier, but
I can see that.
My favorite, it's in my favorites. I would say like my 5 favorites are probably Winter Soldier, Guardians 1, Thor 1, Thor Ragnarok, and the first Avengers. Those are probably my top 5.
The Winter Soldier is kind of when they really turned the point of like making superhero movies, like and what they could do with them.
Yeah, they started trying different genres within.
Yeah, pretty much everything
comic
before
movies.
that is just a standard superhero movie.
Yeah, it was your standard like here's the first movie, and I guess and Iron Man 2 was is probably my least favorite Marvel movie. So
Oh no, it's the Hulk for me.
Yeah,
I don't
I'd
remember
have to
the
agree on that.
I don't even remember the Hulk.
Right.
but do you remember the Ang Lee Hulk?
Thanks. I wanted to remember that. So
the Eric
badly.
Bana Hulk.
I really wanted to. That was something I really wanted to remember.
Yeah, I would put Iron Man 2 under it. Mickey Rourke's the best part of Iron Man 2. I remember him, and I don't remember anything else about that movie, really. Probably
I'll
doesn't
always
help
remember
this
the guy who was testing out the suits and it overturns and all the problems that they had.
Yeah, people
So that made me just cringe in the movie theater.
people always shit on Thor 1, but I love Fish Out of Water stories, and it's really funny.
I mean, I think it's better than Thor 2.
Yeah, Thor 2 is not super great either. It's towards the bottom as well, in my opinion.
Shame.
Yeah, my favorites are I will always love the first Avengers movie. I think it's their tightest movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's probably up there for just their I wouldn't say it's like their best standalone because you kind of need to know about it going in. It's the payoff of all of Phase 1. So Joss Whedon said he wasn't going to come back for the second one. But if he did, he was going to make it like a smaller, more personal movie or whatever, and that did not happen.
Sorry.
He ended up cutting out some quite a bit of stuff and argued with the studio about what to cut, and I think the movie just suffered for that, because he ended up standing his ground. He made it one less minute than the first Avengers, and I just think it ended up being a worse movie because of it.
Talking about Age of Ultron.
Yeah, Age of Ultron.
Yeah, it's another one that people generally rank amongst the lowest ones.
Yeah,
It's kind of sad too because I really like some of the stuff that they were trying to do with it. But
Yeah, some of the scenes are good.
I think Whedon was just too focused on trying to make it more like the first Avengers. He just needed to let it, put in an extra 10 or 15 minutes and let it, be a bigger movie.
And I think it's a good thing that he's not really
Yeah.
involved
Well,
with
apparently
it
this
anymore.
movie
I think he was burnt
killed him.
out. Yeah. He was pretty burnt out on it. I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think you could tell that from Avengers 2 as well. But everyone who's seen the first, they're not screening the whole movie to people early. They're only showing them I think the first half hour.
Oh.
And people said it starts off and goes right into it hitting the fan. So
Maybe.
Outside of that, I also really love Civil War.
Civil War. Oh.
Yeah, it's because it's just so personal for the heroes.
Yeah.
There's almost no villain basically, and I mean you had the main character of the Avengers is the team of the Avengers, the first movie. The actual team is basically the main character of that movie, and it was it was can they overcome to join up as a team, and then Civil War just is tearing that apart basically.
I actually like that one too because there's one scene, and this happens a lot, and I see this a lot, unfortunately, and it's just how it's done, I guess, nowadays, which is a shame. But a lot of times you'll see combat or fighting scenes, and we do a lot of quick cuts sometimes. But there is one scene in that movie right near the last part of the battle where it's essentially a singular continuous shot for, I would say, about 20 to 30 seconds of the Winter Soldier and Captain America both striking at Iron Man, and they just keep that singular shot. So that whole shot, these actors have to go back and forth, swinging in, being parried, deflected, blocked off, being hit by laser, yet coming back while hitting one another in a continuous motion. And I love it. It's probably one of the best moments in the whole movie at the end.
It's definitely a very important one.
Oh
These, Winter Soldier, Civil War, and then actually Infinity War coming up are all directed by the Russo brothers. I think they really have a sense of comic book fighting. Like they kind of their movies is where they started to like just kind of get away from the generic combat, like action combat, and like really like this is like, you know, a comic book character where like Cap kicks in a door and sends someone flying, you know, 20 feet.
Yeah. That was I was like, that doesn't make sense, like but I'm not gonna argue it.
And then the car scene or whatever from Civil War where they're like running on foot at like car speeds. It's just great. And then my other favorite is Spider-Man Homecoming, because
I love
80s movies, and
that's adorable.
Yeah, and I love Spider-Man. He's one of my favorites, and
the Vulture was really good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah. It's only 2 weeks till today, I think, when we get, like, I guess it says the 27th. They basically come out.
Yeah, I mean, you'll be able to get, there'll be 20 viewings on the 26th. Does anyone any predictions? I mean, everyone expects people to die.
Yeah, kills Dumbledore, I think.
Cap or Iron Man, one of the two.
Well, yeah, the trailers really make it feel like there's like it's gonna be one of those two, but the trailers also have been known to like bait and switch in Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Nah, guys, don't worry. Nobody can actually die. I mean, in the comics, Captain America got shot in the head by a sniper rifle, still alive.
Well,
Hail Hydra.
They're playing up Bucky. They're playing up Bucky to become the next Cap. So
Kevin,
they want him to become the next Cap. They want to bring in new people, and they're kind of letting go of the old.
Well, yeah, they can't. So they can't keep doing it like comics do it, because comics, you know, you don't have an actor that's getting older and wants to do other things or whatever. And Kevin Feige. Yeah, yeah, basically
the guy in charge of the MCU.
Pretty much, he's the producer on every MCU and whatnot. He said if they kill off someone, they're gonna probably just stay dead. And I think be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, that's very dangerous territory to walk into.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Cap. I think
I could see Vision just dying too, because they pulled the stone out of his head.
Oh yeah, I would see Vision dying. I think that's really who's gonna probably end up getting killed off.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of Phase 1 characters die.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. I mean, you can go like the meta-call and like Thor or Chris, whatever Hemsworth has said. Like if they do more Thor, like Thor Ragnarok, he'd be willing to do Thor more.
I think. I don't think Thor's probably gonna die. I just don't think that's really
after the success of Ragnarok 2. I just don't think they'll kill him.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna kill him even regardless of success. I don't think Vision's gonna stay dead for realsies, because he's also a very new character.
True.
I mean, he shows up in 2 movies.
His consciousness could be in the stone or something.
Yeah, they could probably bring him back.
You just make him back into being Jarvis.
I think, as silly as it sounds, even if they don't kill somebody off, you can certainly retire somebody and say that they're just passing off the gauntlet, or you can handicap them, or even take away their power, or do
maybe one of the Guardians.
Yeah, I could see one of the. Well, I don't know if the Guardians will get probably.
Gamora's sister, maybe.
I don't know. Some people thought maybe Gamora, with how they're playing her up in the trailer.
Possibly, I don't know. It is really hard to say, because they've been very good at keeping the idea of that they're playing up a number of people in the trailer, which means that this potentially are all red flags as we understand them. But then they could pull a Last Jedi on us and be like, "Ha! You thought it was the people who were showing in the trailer, but it was not. It was somebody else."
I also think if anyone, I would expect anyone who's dead at the end of the next Avengers, the untitled one, to be dead. I kind of think that something weird might happen between this Avengers and the next one. Because we still have the Soul Stone that no one knows about, or what it is, or anything too.
I don't know. I mean, you could technically do anything.
Captain Marvel.
Gauntlet.
Yeah.
So.
I hope the reason why Thanos does what he does is just because he can't get over the fact that Death just won't love him enough.
Yeah, I hope they actually put her in the thing.
Original one. Yeah, that'd be cool. They did. I mean, for in the trailer they referenced the snap too, which is real cool.
Yeah. He says something about courting death too. So hopefully
Well, I hope it's not actually as silly where he's throwing a temper tantrum that Death just won't give him enough love.
Yeah, but I hope she shows up.
But I hope the reason is for it is that he has actually met Death. He has fallen in love with her, but the reason why he does what he does is a little bit more complicated than just because I want to be with Death.
Well, I think in the
works.
original comics too, it was also he actually wants to balance out the universe with life and death, which is why he only kills half the universe.
That'd be cool. Make him he sees himself as like some higher divinity being. So I would like that because that would make more sense. I mean, yeah, sure, he wants to be with Death Waifu, but he also sees himself as he kind of sees himself as the balance keeper, and therefore he's better, and he should rightfully deserve to do whatever he wants if he can do that. So, Egomania, play it up a bit.
There are also people have also been freaking out because like Hawkeye's not in any of the stuff. Like he's not like in any of the trailers. He's not in any of the promotional material.
He's the first one.
I like the idea that he's just retired.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of really what it was though. Like that's kind of how his
tag.
character plays. He literally even in I think in Civil War.
The end of Civil War is they're all in prison, but you know they get broken out.
He gets broken out. I mean, he'll have to probably go in hiding. I mean,
Thanks, Cap. Going back to my house.
I mean, you could even argue that that might be the ending for some characters. Nobody dies, but they're still technically enemies and have to go into hiding because they will never play by the UN's rule.
Right.
And that could be the way to kill them off. That's why they go away. I mean, and that's not as any. I think the real question comes down to: does somebody need to die to make it a good transition? And if so, why?
Well, I mean, just no one has they've had like one real death so far, and I mean, to some people it just feels cheap, I guess.
What was the one real death?
Quicksilver.
Oh yeah.
And even that was like kind of like a cop out because there was like, I mean, it was in a movie he was introduced in, so it's like it almost doesn't even count. Like you didn't have the time to like grow and get attached to him.
I agree with that. That was one, and it was like, really, they're killing him off? Really? Okay. Well,
the other, but I've also seen people were like, well, they're not showing him because obviously when Thanos beats all of them, it just cuts to Hawkeye. He's like, well, I guess I'll have to do it myself.
Which would be funny.
And that's when Hawkeye shows us his final form.
Mm-hmm.
He puts on his actual costume.
Yeah, he puts on his actual costume.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be weird though because I'm gonna tell you right now, it is kind of the ending of a legacy. It's a decade long series. You are dropping a very big movie down, and then the idea is that you're going to continue telling more stories afterwards. But we've built up to this, and now the idea is that can you?
I mean, they're on uncharted territory. Everything they're doing is
everything they do after, and we're going to see if that succeeds or not. Because that's the bigger challenge: is can you tell a story that will pull us in as deeply as when you started this Marvel Cinematic Universe after you've told the Infinity Stones? Because now you are in.
They haven't even named whatever is after the. Well, they haven't named the next Avengers movie. It's still untitled, and then they haven't, revealed. I guess what is after Phase 3. They're calling it post Phase 3 instead of Phase 4. It's just weird, and I think that.
Boy, I can't wait for that Howard the Duck movie.
I am ready for Howard the Duck.
No,
gonna happen.
All right, Tats.
I want. Oh, okay.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I want a Spider-Verse movie where we get all of the past Spider-Man.
Don't worry, guys. We're gonna get Venom. We're gonna get Venom soon.
Oh yeah, we are getting Venom.
Venom.
But that's not that Marvel. That's weird.
Okay, it's not
I hate that trailer because it doesn't once show fucking Venom at all. I am so upset. I'm like, we came to see this son of a bitch, and you're not showing it.
Sony's being all weird about that. They're like, it's in the same universe as, the newest Spider-Man. And Marvel's like, no, it's not. And Sony's like, yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's not going to be in the movie, but it's still in the same universe. Marvel's like, no, go away.
Stop it, Sony. Just everybody sell back your products to the MCU universe, please. I implore you. please sell it off to Disney, and not even so much Disney, but the people who are currently working on it are wonderful. They have done so much good, and even their lows are still better than almost majority stuff out there.
Even the
that tries
Incredible
to.
Hulk is better than Fantastic Four or whatever the
Yes.
latest one was.
So
Yep.
please, I implore you, just sell it off, okay? Just give it back. Just
Or
put
do
it all
what
under one
Sony
roof.
did, and like you still own. I guess you technically have the rights, but you know you let Marvel use the characters.
Yes. Just even let them use it. I don't care what you do. I mean, gosh dang. It's not hard.
All right, now we'll transition. Tess, what is your topic for that?
Well, with the theme I've had the last couple weeks talking about RPGs, I came across a nice little tool that I thought I would share with you guys for GMs for world building, and it's called World Anvil. It's a website, www.worldanvil.com. Sorry, the sleepy is sapping away my words. It has within it a bunch of tools that are built in and are pre-designed with the world builder in mind. So when you first create your account, it'll actually ask you, are you using this as a player? Are you using this as a GM? Or are you using this to write like a book, a novel? Because that's one of the other
Lofty
big things
goals.
that people use it for.
Oh man.
It'll activate things, but if you choose, for whatever reason, I don't know why you wouldn't just choose GM, because that activates everything. I guess if you're not wanting to be swamped with everything, or like as a book writer. But when I say everything, it does have a lot of resources built in, and they're still adding things. Well, and I have it pulled up, so you're going to hear some mouse clicking as I kind of scroll through things that I can read to y'all. But when you first log in, you'll be able to create your because it does let you save. I think if you're a free user, you can save up to 5 or 6 worlds, and if you're on their Patreon, you can save more. But it is a free resource to use, and the only thing that being on Patreon allows you to do is have more memory saved with them. So it'll ask you, you can create new content, and it gives you 20 different options that you can choose from. Things like buildings, characters, items, vehicles, the normal kind of stuff. But then it also even has headings for different languages, technologies, traditions, even natural laws if they change for whatever reason in your world, whether it's from magic or whatever. It has an option for you to create that. Each one, it actually has a predetermined, or not predetermined, but a questions that it will ask you that help, like prompts. There we go. It has a bunch of prompts to help you in deciding and creating and fleshing out. And it may be that you only use 1 or 2 of everything that it shows, but a lot of things there for any given thing you could think to create for your world. It puts it together in a Wikipedia-like thing, because it is, but it isn't. But in the same way that like D&D SRD kind of is, I guess, I don't know what term you'd use for that.
I mean, it builds a wiki basically.
A wiki, I guess, but it's different, but it is a wiki, I guess. The stock page that it creates for you it's very nicely done. It has a very nice layout and is reminiscent of the old 3.5 pages from D&D. Or at least for me, I guess it might not 100% be like that, but it definitely has that feel to it. But it does allow you to customize them and change up the pages to match and fit the theme of your world. For Stars Without Number, and so we're doing it. Obviously, it's a sci-fi campaign, so eventually I'm going to get around to changing it up to, instead of looking like old parchment, to look like a data slab type thing. is kind of the goal. But it's cool because you can share it with your players, and you can, whenever you set something to publish, you can either publish it to everyone, or you can publish it to only people that you have checked off. So you can use it to say, okay, you know, guys, before you come to tomorrow's session, make sure you jump into the website and just, you know, take a look at something I posted. It even has resource for like RPG reports after the game. So that way you can have a nice little concise, this is what we did this day, this is what we did this way, and allow people to come back and just refresh themselves whenever they need to.
Sounds good for online games.
Yeah, it does.
It really is. And I haven't played with it yet, but it does have a built-in dice roller, this semi Google Hangout type thing that's built in. That one, I haven't gotten a chance to play with it yet. I just played a little bit with the dice roller part of that, but
will they get maps, and will they try to compete with Roll20?
That's the thing. Like, they don't have maps built in, but they do have an area for you to upload maps you've made, and then you can link it to different pages. Pretty much anything that you make that has the location tab, it'll ask if you need to put a map, and then even if you put a map, if you say this, say like you make a city, it'll ask for a city map. But then if you say that the city's part of this nation, it'll also ask for a link to the nation map. Or just stringing everything you've created, just stringing it all together. It kind of takes a lot of the work out of things and just lets you just fill in blocks, fill in blanks, and it just does it for you.
Yeah.
And it makes it really nice.
So how did you stumble upon this exactly?
Yeah.
Don't remember.
Tet's sleepy.
That is the best answer.
I think because I've been watching a bunch. Watching a bunch of YouTube videos for GMing stuff, and specifically trying to find. This was back when I was doing research for 2 weeks ago, when I was talking about sci-fi games and why they're difficult to run. And was the guy's channel is called How to Be a Great GM. I forget now, but anyway, he had an episode that was specifically talking about different resources for GMs, and he touched on it just for like 30 seconds and went on because he had a bunch of resources. So I just opened up a whole bunch of tabs and just looked through each one of them, and that was how I came across it. So,
well, I mean, it seems we've done it.
let me pull open one of the just to give you guys an idea.
Let's see how you're using it for the game you want to play. Like, what have you done so far?
So one thing that it does do as well is once you create your world, you can also create campaigns. Again, if you want to use like a lot of the RPG stuff and kind of fold them together as well. So you can even create character sheets with their in-system character sheet builder. And it does actually have some, they're still working on adding character sheets, but it does have some already built in. So that way you can just immediately, pull up a D&D, 5th edition character sheet and fill in the blanks and you're good to go. See, so some of the things that I've added to it so far, right now I have 4 players that I've added in. Their 4 home worlds and their different systems, starting location. Starting the game because it's a tried and true RPG method of starting them in jail. So they're going to be starting on a space station, a penitentiary space station, and they have to escape. I've been doing that's not public, but I've been creating this station and behind the scenes putting in all the stats for the different characters that are running the station, any enemies they may come across, NPCs, a whole bunch of different things like that. So that way I just have it in a nice single location. I can just pull up a couple tabs, boom, I have them all in front of me. Well, if I wanted to create a new character, for example, just looking at the first tab of options it gives me, it lets me give them their name, given family, middle, nickname, any honorifics, year of birth and year of death, all of your basic eyes, height, hair, weight, blah blah, species, ethnicity, da da da. And then the links to both the character portrait, but then also their current location. So wherever your players have left off, you can go in and say, okay, this person is at this location. Well, they split the party, so these guys are actually over here. And so people can kind of, if you're updating it after every single session, they can keep up where their characters are going.
Huh.
And then beyond that, it has tabs for mental, physical, personal, social, wealth, and then if they're divine or they're a deity of some kind. And each one of those has, let's see, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different prompts within mental, a few more than that in physical. Wealth only has 1, but deity has 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So. And so again, some of the writing prompts it gives you for the divine deity type deal, you have your domains, any symbols and sigils, tenets of faith, those kind of things, but then also divine goals, the name of your church or your cult if the divinity is a cult, any holidays that you're follow, any holy books and the codes therein, tenets of faith, even the realms that you either reside in or that your is mostly from. So
because it takes that info and adds it to the wiki, basically.
Exactly, and it builds it in.
And it gives you like the basis of what to think about to really like flesh out a particular thing.
Exactly. And in the case of writing, I guess you can, like, if you're doing it for a book, you can fully write out everything. But then as a GM, you can either use it just for quick notes to remind yourself for when you're playing with that character, if it's an NPC, or you can do full things for your players to read. Actually, like do full out statements that you plan on showing them, but then just a couple bullet points for you to know, like, but you don't want your characters to know, like, so and so is planning on betraying them at this point, but they don't know that, so whatever. I plan on so and so to die at this position, whatever.
Yeah, nice, lots of little notes you can help keep.
And then you can give it different tags. Every single entry you can give it a cover image beyond the tagging any images in there. One of the things I thought was cool, I'm going to jump over to the geography. So if you're creating some type of, it says geography, but it's also galaxies, solar systems, as much as planets, moons, planets, mountains, ranges, valleys, that kind of stuff. But then you go in and it asks you, parent location, but then the type of location. And then in there it has like abyss, archipelago, asteroid belt, cave system, region, just easily 40, 50 options for location type alone. And it starts to put all that stuff together. And then if you've tied it to a parent location, everything together. And so you can even give the geographies, locations, relationships, so that way it knows, and it can tell your players this is to the north of this, but to the east of this city, and
I'm just looking over the website in of itself, and I mean, like, it's interesting that you can go and check out the different worlds that people make as well.
Yeah, if you turn it public, anybody can just jump in and start taking a look at your stuff.
You can actually just look at it, and it'll even tell you like who's following it. You can actually just opt to follow it, I guess, if you've got your own login. And
I wonder if you did like adventure summaries, if people would like read them on there. If lots of people are following your world,
they might.
That might be interesting.
They have a very active Discord, and I'm in it, but I'm not really active doing stuff there. But they have a whole channel dedicated to just reading action reports and giving feedback on action reports of either a game or if somebody might write an action report for a battle that's in their book or something. That's pretty cool.
If I ever do like another Third Day of Thunder-esque thing, we might like try this out just to see the functionality. It might be interesting. I don't know how many people are doing it for L5R stuff either.
It's hard.
I haven't seen very many, and I think that's just because this is an RPG thing. But most of them are fantasy, like Western fantasy based D&D.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just by nature of being the most popular, probably.
That's cool. Yeah, I know you linked your like star map before or something, didn't you, in Discord?
Yeah, but that was for a different. I mean, it was originally for this, but things have kind of changed, and the current map is different than that one. I have to go back and make it similar to that one, and I'll upload it once that happens.
I just would want to mess around with it some, which requires time.
Yeah, and it's pretty in depth, so it can take some time to learn things, but it's also friendly and very intuitive. The way it's designed and the way that it prompts everything, you're not really questioning what's going on. It's pretty straightforward. So it's a very easy tool to use. In depth, sure, or you can, it might take some time to learn everything you can use it for, but it's not going to take you long to learn each trick, I guess. I'm very much enjoying playing with it. I don't know how much I'm going to fully use it for this game, but it definitely helps in the planning stages of things.
Yeah, maybe you should give us some updates after you run a few sessions or whatever, and see how you've been utilizing it when your game's actually like in motion, I guess.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing how well it's played out, and if people have been utilizing it and liking it or not.
Have added, because we had a session 0 on Monday, but only half of the players were able to make it. So I've already uploaded their character sheets into it and made their profiles for their characters. And so far they've been poking around with it, but again, it's session 0, and it's not like there's a lot for them to poke around in right now. So, so I'll definitely keep you guys up to speed as things go on.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Let's get into my topic. So I had a 3-day weekend, and I kind of was like, I've beaten Dragon Warrior 2. We're in the great games drought before all the holy blessed 10 out of 10 started launching this morning for God of War, the new God of War game. So I was like, I need some stuff to dick around with. One of my favorite streamers just started playing Final Fantasy XIV. So I'd never actually like really played that much of it before, and I watched him play probably about 12 hours of it. I usually just like leave it on in the background at work and stuff or stuff like that and listen to it. And he's having a whole lot of fun with it. Watching it was actually fun, and it seemed like really laid back, and the story seemed kind of interesting. So like, hey, it's a Final Fantasy game. I'll play it, and I've been actually really having a lot of fun playing it. Considering like the only other really MMOs I played are probably World of Warcraft and SWTOR for a little while. I mean, I played some other ones for like a little bit and went, wow, this is bad. I can't play it anymore because it's free to play. So I got rid of it or whatever. But, I'm playing with my free account now. I'm surprised that, because I'm level 32, I'm surprised that you can get so far with the free account. Yeah. Which is really cool, that something that Square does. You get to experience a heck of a lot of the story, and they've made it, the beginning part, very accessible with the realms that give you double XP up to level 50. So, Meta's really big into Final Fantasy XIV. He plays it a lot. So, I thought it would be an interesting topic to be like, here's like the things that I think are good about the game, and like just from like someone who's new to it, and compare that where like meta is, where he's in like a raiding guild and stuff, and plays at the end content of the game. One thing I really like is first off, the story seems more interesting than an approach than other MMOs. The other MMOs I played have handled story. SWTOR is basically like, I mean, it's a not Bioshock, BioWare game, kind of just MMOified, but the MMO stuff wasn't that interesting, like the actual gameplay aspects. And Final Fantasy XIV does some different stuff by letting you switch jobs and stuff like that pretty freely. It kind of like there isn't really, at first at least, it doesn't. You're not going to like a bunch of different realms and stuff. You're zones. You're spending time in like the same zone. I mean, and you'll have like different screens that you go to and stuff. But like I started out in Gridania, the forest place. So I was like, yeah, this forest place is. I got really interested in like what's going on there, like the lore of what's going around with the elementals and stuff like that, and exploring like that zone and being able to do like basically has quests all the way up to like what I'm doing right now, just in like basically what would be a starting area in another game, essentially. So
yeah, you I think if you're level 30 something, you should already be with you should either be with or you're starting to delve into I know you've probably already beaten Ifrit.
Yeah, I'm getting up to Ramu now.
Okay, so you're gonna up to Ramu?
Yeah, well, I'm dealing. The story quest I'm on now is like you got to help the fairies or the sylph or whatever, because they like all worship Ramu. Or they're like basically the story as I know it right now is like there's beastmen and stuff. The primals are basically like the summons from the other Final Fantasy games.
Yes,
they're kind of like going crazy, and you're having to like stop them because like I guess this was the first game from what I understand it, the original Final Fantasy XIV. Bahamut like lost his shit and started like trying to blow stuff up. And
there's a lot.
The Empire looks really fucking cool too. There's a little scene where it goes over to the Garlean Empire guys, and there's like a badass guy with a gun blade, and he like kills a dude. And I was like, I want to know more about this guy. He looks cool.
You will. I wanna. You're going to the Sylphs, but I don't. You will probably not deal with Ramu just yet.
Gotcha.
You're gonna then you've probably already met the you've already been to Horizon. You've already met all the Scions, or at least the majority of them at this point.
Milfinia and all them or whoever.
Yep. So okay, so then that gives you an idea of like where you were at with the storyline. I was gonna say that's about right. That should be where you were done because they actually send you out there to deal with them.
Yeah, so I had to, and here's something else that's really cool. If you do the main quests, that's how you unlock the dungeons, or at least in the dungeon queue and stuff like that. So the game like kind of throws you into grouping up and stuff.
Yeah, most of the all the dungeons that you will end up through the storyline. You will go through all the dungeons at some point or another. I think there's only like there's only a couple that you don't actually run. While you're
they're optional or whatever.
They are optional ones, but they are also pulled over from 1.0, and they are very different and much more frustrating than some of the more updated
gotcha.
Ones. 1.0 was a mess. You were talking about the story. I'm going to tell you right now that the Final Fantasy XIV story is actually considered to be one of the best Final Fantasy stories. It's constantly been considered to be a very good storyline. Each expansion kind of tells its own story, kind of ends. The patches will lead you into the next one, but Realm Reborn is considered a wonderful storyline. Players love it, and all the patches involving it are also equally amazing. So,
so here's my question:
prep for
will I get to, or is it easy to like find groups to like do the raid content stuff with before you get into like Heaven's Sword and stuff like that?
The original rating stuff,
because I want to experience the whole story.
So you will want to do the Binding Coil Bahamut, because that has a very big part of the story, because it explains like what happened to Bahamut and what like where he's at and what's he doing and who he's chilling out with. And that unfortunately is you're probably gonna get, if you want to just run through it, you're probably just gonna want to get some group who's gonna willing to like kind of rush you through it, so that you can see the storyline and not have to deal with the fights.
Gotcha.
After that, though, they made like essentially the normal mode and then Savage, which is just hard mode of the fights. And normal mode tells you the storyline. It goes to the story of the raid. The raid themselves are not difficult by any standard. They're essentially a beefed up final dungeon boss. And you get to see the story through that, and then the true end game rating, if you want the best gears and the knowledge of knowing that, congrats, you've like fought some of the harder bosses, is done through Savage mode. But you will already know the story before you do that.
Yeah, and you're just going to get gear. I'm assuming like any other MMO, you're going to get gear that's going to surpass that anyways in the expansions, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's just how it goes. So the Savage rating is nothing more than, do you want to just raid for the stronger gear and the challenge, and mostly the gear.
So yeah, I like that the game, like, if you want to do the story, it's basically like you got to group up with people. It's got the but it doesn't make you do like old vanilla WoW where you had to like spam general chat and go, please do this dungeon with me. You get your dungeon finder and stuff. So
yeah, it's, you will like I said, like the storyline is probably the one thing you're gonna really like. It's really good.
Yeah, I'm hoping the Empire will start to show up more here soon.
Yes, I will. I'll spoil that for you and say the Empire will show up more. Correct. You will deal more with them.
That gunblade. I want a gunblade. And I love seeing, for someone who's played all the Final Fantasy games, also, I love the references and stuff. Like,
yes.
Like, our password is Wild Rose, which is a reference to Final Fantasy II. The original Final Fantasy II. I'm playing a Dragoon, so that's a reference to Final Fantasy IV, obviously. And I guess 2 to an extent. I actually had the first Dragoon, but as most people know, it Kane. I like that, I don't know if all the classes have this, but you have like your combo stuff where your moves will change depending on the sequence you use them. Makes it a bit more interesting.
Yep, moves do combo.
That's cool. It's pretty accessible too. Like, I haven't really had to look anything up or like super like go, okay, like, what does this mean? How do I do it? The game does a good job of explaining all that stuff to you as well.
Yeah, the only time you'll probably need to start looking up stuff again deals with more like end game things and figuring out where something is. When it comes to, because there's a few things like there's a sightseeing log, which is quite literally like, okay, we're just going to tell you what it is in this text and talk to the NPC, and then from there we will give you no hints or any spots on the map. You just have to go find it yourself.
Oh, gotcha.
So that might be something we have to look up. You might need to look up information on recipes. You might utilize outside sites for like timers for nodes for farming and crafting and whatnot.
I haven't even started on that yet.
But honestly, you don't need those things unless you plan to get really into the end game stuff and want to learn more and see more about the game functionally, as opposed to just playing the game in and of itself.
Yeah. Something else that's really good about the game is the music. When I played WoW has actually good music, but I would always like, because WoW feels a lot more grindy, and it's maybe just because I'm on like double experience on this server. But I would always cut it off and listen to my own music, but I don't do that at all in this game. The music is really freaking good. It's a Final Fantasy game, so you kind of expect that, but they didn't just go, oh, it's the MMO Final Fantasy, we're gonna not work as hard on like the polish and the details and stuff. No, they did a really good job with the score. It reminds me of 12 a lot. 12 score.
I actually kind of agree, because like the World of Warcraft music is generally more ambient.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't know, some people prefer that. They really do. They don't want a lot of attention being taken away from like what's going on, but and that has its ups and downs, but I enjoy the fact that the music you get to listen to in this game is very much in your face. I like that a lot, because it's another part of the aspect of the game that's really fun and makes it a good soundtrack to listen to.
Yeah, it's good. It's on par with some of the stuff I've heard so far is on par with some really good tracks from some of the other games. So, but I don't know. It's just I've been having a lot of fun playing it. I think I'm going to keep playing it. Probably I'll probably eventually get the subscription stuff and get through the expansions, especially if the story just keeps my interest.
I'm certain it will. I'm certain it will because it's pretty good throughout the whole game. So
yeah, and man, all the other classes look freaking cool as crap too when you're watching them do their shit. Like I love the spell effects for like the black mages that they have. They all look cool. I'm like, man, I should have played a black mage. Oh, I can do that. I can eventually level it. I see like red mages running around and like hitting stuff in melee. Then they go back and start blasting stuff with magic. That looks cool as shit too. I want to play red mage. I see samurai guys running around, just standing around in town. I'm like, oh, their gear looks cool. They got a katana and stuff. I want to be a samurai too. I want to be everything. I want to do everything in the game.
And you can. It's cool. Without making a single ult.
Yeah, you don't have to make ults.
You don't have
I imagine at a certain point it might be like easier to do so, maybe just because you'll run out of quests, but I don't know. You would know more about that than I would.
No, dungeons are your like de facto way of leveling.
Oh, really?
Yes, they are probably your best way to do it. Although you can skate by with doing fates at least through 1 through 50. Yeah. But after that, if you want the fastest way to go about it, dungeon whore yourself out.
Yeah, and the fates are cool too. They remind me of Rift, where you'd have basically like world PvE stuff where there's basically like for people that don't know, it's like generally like you walk into a part of the zone and like kind of like a mini quest is going on, and you do it with other people at the same time. And it's a little bit more difficult than normal quests. And you can like sync your level down and still do it if you're like over it.
Yep.
And you basically get like it's like commendations. I don't remember what exactly they call them. For your
you get a currency.
The faction that you join, basically.
The faction you join, you'll get a currency. And
that's how you get your chocobo. I got my chocobo the other day, and I was super happy.
Yeah,
and it plays the chocobo theme when you ride around.
Oh, yes, baby!
It also has its own fight music that starts every time you get in a fight, which is awesome. And the Fate fight music is really freaking good. It's hot. It hops you up for when you get You'll just be walking and then it'll go Fate appeared or something and it'll just go dun 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 dun. I'm like, oh god, I gotta do the Fate now because this music.
It's a lot of fun, yeah.
Yeah,
there's it's not really commonly used, which is really depressing. But there are certain fates that will even unlock areas for you to go to.
Oh,
and
interesting.
And there are certain fates that will, if you complete them, will unlock extra fates that go after them. That's even how you can spawn certain special creatures that can give you neat like glamour gear or unlock access to like little minions and things. Nothing really like truly end game, so not everybody's rushing to get it.
It's like customizable stuff,
but they have customizable stuff.
It seems like they have it's very much like Fashion Soul stuff in here because I just see cat girls everywhere in maid outfits.
Oh, do they have a whatchamacallit system?
A what? A glamour system?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, they do have it. Transmogrify, whatever you want to call it. It's Fashion Souls is essentially at the end of the day what we're talking about.
Make you suit.
Yes, they do have that. They've been continuing to expand on it. Originally, you had to just keep the gear you wanted to like fashion yourself into, either on your retainers, which are just essentially like people that you hire to go do some work for you and also store gear on. They're your bank, essentially. And you could also just keep the gear on your own inventory slots. And you would use like these prisms and you can cast on yourself. They recently, and I mean very recently, released a glamour chest, which only shows up in inns, but you can store up to 200 items in it, and it will destroy the item, but it will save the glamour of it in the chest. The only downside right now is that you have to go into an inn in the first place to get access to it. You cannot get that item back. So if that item was something really important to you, or you had to farm for that damn thing, then once it's destroyed for good, and you can't pull it out. You can only overwrite it, which sucks. The only thing they did to alleviate that was that you could make wardrobes, which are essentially just like a pre-selected outfit, and then you could cast that yourself on wherever you are, and it'll immediately take the appearance of that outfit.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing that was kind of a benefit, but they will be continuing to expand on it. They already said they wanted to make that better. They wanted to make it more accessible to outside of the inn. They want to rectify like the item issue, and they want to increase the size of it. So even that stuff is getting worked on. There are some things though in the game that are kind of a little bit behind other games. So
Yeah, no game's going to be super perfect. Did you play the original 14? Any?
I did. Play
Okay,
part
so
of Original
what's
14.
so different? Why was it so bad? This is what when I hear people who played the game, they don't ever talk about why it was bad. They just say it was god awful.
Let me tell you a tale of low adventure.
Give me the lore.
All right, so let me lay it down onto you, Obs. Let me lay it down to everybody who's listening. The reason 1.0 sucked was everything. There, I said it. I said it. You know the truth. It was everything. Everything about
God.
No. All right, so let me be serious. 1.0 had a lot of issues, but I would say the biggest 3 issues was the this is grossly simplifying it, and it's not really the true thing to say because it's become such a buzzword, but essentially the netcode was a hazard. The amount of art that was required, everything looked amazing, but a potted plant would use the same amount of polygons as a character, which meant that
The game
that
didn't
potted
run well
plant
for a lot of people.
fucking fantastic. Let me tell you, buddy. Loading was a problem. They could not put a lot of assets on things. It was very rough for the game to try to load up and run things. The other issue was the game was from a combat functional standpoint was playing like an old game, and generally the leveling system, the gameplay in and of itself was trying to be like the new modern MMO while still being like the old MMOs, and that was a problem. There was a conflicting philosophy that constantly clashed, and those are your biggest 3 things. Just from the netcode standpoint, everything was delayed. You wanted to open up a menu. Okay, you click the button. You'd wait 3 seconds, the menu would open up. Okay, you want to go to this menu inside of here. Okay, so I want to get to my equipment, right? Okay, so I go over to here. First, I have to go to my character status. That doesn't have a shortcut. I would go to the character status and click on it. Wait another 3 seconds. That'd pop up. Okay, now I'm on my character status. Now I want to select what I want. I go down to my character select. 2 seconds. Now it's on the selecting of the character. I want to go down to my weapon. Okay, select that. 4 seconds. It opens up your item slots. Okay, well, I need to go to the next page because that's where it's got my equipment on. Click that. 5 seconds. Now you're in finally the equipment page. Okay, I want to equip this. Click. 3 seconds. I've selected it. Now I want to bring it over to here. Click. Okay, now I've swapped the weapon out. Finally, now I want to exit out. Exit. Okay, now I'm back in the game. Let's go play the game. Yeah. That was the problem. It was a lot of menus inside of menus. There was a lot of UI issues just in general, and the reactive time to trying to do anything with the UI was horrific. Obviously the game was wonderful because it had the polygons and everything looked fantastic, but it also meant that everything took forever to load up. People had a hard time, and the game on the back end had a hard time. And they spent so much time trying to make everything look beautiful that the maps themselves were a terror and a half. Gridania was a maze, a horrific maze. It wasn't these giant open zones that were very clearly like their own thing. They were mazes of copy and paste. It was a copy and paste fest. That was how it was for everything. Every zone, copy and paste of that zone. You went to Gridania, congratulations. You're now in a labyrinth as well. Copy and pasted labyrinth. You'll never escape. And the combat design was just like, it's old school, like where you would wait, you would like attack something, and then it would wait a period of time. You would attack something. But as you attack things, your bar would eventually fill up. Oh, look, I can use an ability. Click, I'm going to use this ability. And it would do like that one ability, but then it would use up the ability power, and then you would have to wait till it goes back to attacking to build that up. And it was very old school in that regard. And these are the 3 biggest things that were a problem from the start. And eventually that started to get changed over as time went on. It eventually started getting changed over. the crew who was in was kind of like ejected. They brought in Yoshi P and his team, and they started making the game better, but they had to shut it down because the core of what the game was needed to stop and be put and changed around from a fundamental level. They needed their the base of their foundation for their house had to be changed. It was just bad, and you can't build a house on that and try to make it better.
Yeah, and they just rebooted it all, basically, right?
Pretty much,
including
yeah,
the
I think-
story too.
Yeah, the engine was changed. They changed how they focused on things. The combat system was revamped to what you see today. There was a lot of stuff that was just changed on the back end. That has made the game what it is. So that's why 1.0 was a horror fest in general.
It's an
there's
interesting
others-
tale that they even like were able to turn it around so well, because it's one of the most beloved MMOs that are going on right now.
Yes, that's actually been a big thing, and that was something that actually pushed for by Yoshida, who is affectionately known as Yoshi P for the team, but he turned the whole game around, and he really stated, like, he really fought for the fact that, like, this game needs to succeed because we owe it to the people who play Final Fantasy and the individuals who love this game. We need to show them that we can do this right. We need to earn their trust back. And that was a very big philosophy going into it. And a lot of people really love him as an individual and as a director because of that philosophy, and why he put so hard to bring the game around. And he was successful at it, which is the other biggest factor for it. He did it, and he did it well.
It's good, man. I'm really enjoying the game. I want to see like through the story basically, and man, it's just fun to play. So
I should really get through the story.
it's
Yeah.
have you played
Was
it
there-
too, Mal?
I played it a little bit, and I dropped off.
Gotcha.
But it is something I would like to finish the story of, at least. Just,
Yeah, it seems. I mean, I like what they're doing with the summons and stuff. They're tying it into what you know, but making it different because you're actually
Right.
fighting the summons.
I
this time.
got a question for you, Obs, because you stated like you wanted to talk about some of the things, but what's something about the game that you don't like? What's something that has been in
I don't know. To be honest, maybe
Gosh,
like that there would
I was
be,
expecting you to say something was bad.
maybe that there would be like
no
two,
Gladiolus.
yeah. There's no Noctis. That's the
There's
whole.
no Noctis. That's the problem.
Until you make Noctis as your character, dude. I don't know. I'm probably not like just deep enough in to really have like a super bad critique of anything. Like
Nothing really annoys
quick
you.
traveling is no, it doesn't. No, quick traveling around the world is really easy. You don't have to do the stupid WoW thing where I gotta pay the guy and ride the griffin, and it takes like 5 minutes to get across the world. Okay. Instead, I can like teleport and be there instantly. That's like better. Quality of life stuff is just better than other MMOs because you have like basically a whole bag's worth of room for every piece of your gear, every like slot of your gear, because you change classes a lot. So it does that. It starts you off with like I think over like 100 item slots in your bags. It just starts you out with huge
think it's like-
bags.
Yeah, you get like 140 for your general items,
It's-
and then each slot in it of itself for a piece of gear is like 30 or 35
Yeah,
or something.
You're not weighed down with like I'm level 30. I can already do like 20 different things with my class, and some of these are crap that I will literally never use. Like I use all my abilities. They all have like uses. It's really well designed. I don't know what to say. Like as someone who's like tried to play like a few MMOs and not gotten into them for whatever reason, I just don't have anything right now. I don't think. I even like that you can like the level sync stuff. Like if people are willing to like take their level down with you, they could do content basically at your level essentially, and like they lose their abilities and stuff, but the it lets them like participate. You don't just like steamroll through stuff. You actually like do it like you would normally do it. Yeah, I don't really have any complaints. Maybe I'll get some more towards the end, but
Well, I mean,
it's
once you
really
get
good
'em-
so far. I'm impressed.
once you get them, I will fight you to the death of why you're wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of yours on the back end that doesn't like spoil anything for me? Maybe.
Some of the stuff on the back end, you might. Well, the biggest one thing I see, and it's never really bothered me because in my eyes, it doesn't really matter, because of balancing wise. But there really is no talent trees. That's the thing that just doesn't exist. If you play Dragoon, you are playing Dragoon. If you are playing Paladin, you are playing Paladin.
So you're like the same as everyone else. Okay, I can see that.
Same as everybody else. And that for some people that's a problem, and I can see why. But like for the point of it really is that if you're playing Dragoon, you're playing Dragoon to play a guy who jumps up into the air and then rockets back down at the speed of light to crush his enemy with a spear. That's what you're playing Dragoon to play. Yeah. If you're playing Samurai, you are playing it because you want to toss gil at your enemies and make them poor and shit. And that's not actually how it plays. But if you're playing Samurai, it's because you have this idea that you want to play a character who's going to be awesome. And thematically, in this game at least, they are able to do Iaijutsu stuff. They have like cool combos. They do cool stuff, and it's like that's what
everybody fight's different. It's really cool.
If you're playing Red Mage in this game, you're generally on the idea is like, well, I want to be able to jack of all trades, and let me tell you something. They succeeded that in a game that follows like the trifecta of tank, healer, DPS, because Red Mage do DPS and they do it well, and they cast spells and they'll do melee attacks. You'll build up a meter to do like empowered melee attacks, or you can just do them otherwise if you want. Although it's considered bad. And you can res people, you can cast cures. They have double cast, which makes them that kind of quick cast character that people kind of liked from Final Fantasy XI. There's that. I mean, you play the class, you play it for that class. So, but some people would like some variation how they do it, and I can see why. But I've always been under the mind that it's like, well, people are just going to find which one's the best one anyway. So,
I guess
they just make one and save time.
I mean, at a certain point, it's probably like if you want to be the most efficient you can be with like whatever class you're playing, you're using like these abilities. I mean, it's basically like that with any MMO, but I guess like the customization is more like your cross-class stuff you can do, like the certain skills you can pull down and stuff to use.
Yeah, that's really what it is. Nowadays, instead of like having it be like, because originally you actually had to level up other classes, and that was again a holdover from 1.0, where you would level up other classes to get their abilities to put them on your bar, and you need to be better. But they kind of kept that around for 2.0. But then they're like, this is kind of silly. Why are we making the level up when we could bounce? It makes it just easier to bounce around the idea that, hey, here's a selection of other abilities that you can pull from. You can have a max of 5. They will be all useful in certain situations. Take them, put them on your bar, and be done. And that was shared between all different types. So you have like casters, you have healers, tanks, and melee DPS, and they've all got their own type. And then ranged DPS.
Yeah.
So you got that. I think the only thing I actually have a problem with the game is that there isn't, and this is just the thing for most any MMOs, there isn't a huge lot to do at the end game that is involving progression wise for gear and content, which kind of sucks. You really have only the raid, and then that's it. There is other stuff you can do, but it's never really towards the progression of getting better gear. There's no horizontal, but that's a problem that's generally faced by most MMOs. So
yeah, pretty much most of them have the problems like, I'm at the end. Well, I'm either just PvPing or raiding all the time.
Yep.
Or like just leveling crafting skills, but oh god, they're maxed out. Now I'm playing the auction house or whatever.
Yep.
But so yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's good. I literally can't think of anything bad to say about my experience so far. The pacing is great of the game. I don't feel like I'm spending a lot of time like running around or walking anywhere or like sitting there or alt tabbed. I'm playing the game. I'm doing it, Peter. I'm playing the game. So
glad to hear it.
Yeah, so it's fun. I look forward to seeing more of the story and stuff. All right, what do you got, Meta?
Well, it's gonna be short today, but I do want to give one thing I wanted to say before I actually get on the topic is it's a sad day for Steam Spy. The new things that went out, we just talked about it last week.
We cursed them.
We cursed them. For those of you who don't know, Steam just released out some changes to how their privacy policy works for players, and unfortunately, you do not. The way they did is that everybody's information is now hidden, so that they can't pull up the information. You actually have to opt out of being hidden, as opposed to opt into being hidden. So Steam Spy, unfortunately, will never be able to collect the data, and there are 3 years of data collection and amazing information is unfortunately going down the hill. So Hopefully, maybe that'll change in the future, but for now, it's dead. That's unfortunate. All right, so on to the actual topic. I've been currently streaming about every Monday, sometimes Tuesday, depending on our scheduling. Divinity 2, 4-player game. We've been doing 4 players. We all play our own classes, and we've been having a lot of fun playing it and playing the game. But we're kind of coming up to the end of the game. So I was like, well, that's really cool. It's been kind of fun to play with him. And I said, I really don't want it to end, though, but I don't really know if there's anything else we can really do. So I decided to hop in and check out the GM mode. Now, Larian
my.
Studios did release what's called a GM mode, and it is something akin to like playing tabletop game. You are obviously
because
limited
if you don't know about Divinity, it's basically like playing D&D on a computer.
Yeah,
it's your old school CRPG kind of style.
Yep, it is a turn-based. The games are considered wonderful. The storylines are fantastic. It's a great game. I absolutely love it. It's amazing, and as we talked about last week, it's actually considered to be it is in the 7th highest grossing game on Steam. It made them. It is in the top 20 games for money that his Steam has earned, and Divinity 2 is 7th rank. So that tells you something. But they never really talked about it. Like they talked about it, they put out information for it, but you don't see a lot of people really doing anything with it. I mean, even if you look up the GM mode, there's not a lot there for it. So I kind of wanted to talk about it to let people know, like, what exactly is the GM mode, what it entails, and how you might actually want to check it out if you have this game. So GM mode is essentially a mode where you go into the game, you load up all the assets of the game, and you can create your own custom campaign. You can either you can utilize, essentially it gives you 2 different sections. It gives you kind of like the level section, and then it gives you like the overview map section. You can utilize some of the core stuff that they have in there. You can have mods that will add on stuff if you want to, and they have tons of assets already in the game that you can utilize as well.
Oh my mod.
So essentially what happens is you have a top world map, and you can choose some of the pre-selected ones you have, and they're all very good. They're all very cool. They're all very useful. And you can essentially start the game where you are leading the players through tales and a story of your own kind, essentially like D&D, quite more literally. You are able to utilize a map. You're able to set points on that map. You can assign points. The points on that map can be assigned levels, which can vary in sizes. They're not huge by any means, but there are areas that your players can run into that can either have merchants, enemies. You can change the settings of these stages to whatever you want, and there's a plethora of them, from forest to desert to towns to inside like giant manors and castles and so on and so forth. The game still in the combat still utilizes the actual game's combat as well. But if you prefer not to do that, you can also set it to be a rolling system, because they have a dice roller in there. That dice roller, you can
make it literally D&D.
You can literally make it D&D.
That's pretty cool.
It is full on D&D. You could never have the game ever have anybody fight, and you could literally just have it so that they are D&Ding their whole way through. And I mean, that's a full on possibility. You have, as a GM, you have tons of assets. They give you access to all the skills. They give you access to even monster skills if you so desire. They give you plenty of tools. Obviously there's like pre-created enemies that you can plop out on the field, or you can edit and modify them to customize them. There is both the assets of like weapons and whatnot that you can just take out if you want a specific one to throw it down and like modify it, or you can use the random item generation system, which is a wonderful tool that states that, like, okay, what do you want? Oh, armor, a weapon, or a shield? And you're like, well, I kind of give them a cool weapon. And it's like, okay, well, what kind of weapon do you want to give them? A sword, staff, spear, mace, wand, scepter, whatever. You choose that one, then you choose what rarity you want on the list, and then you click generate, and it immediately puts one into your inventory, your GM inventory, which none of the players can see or have access to, and it will just give them random stats on that item based on the level of that item as well. And then from there, you can go on and modify it even more after that. I have been having a lot of fun with this. I have only just barely scratched the surface, but I've been testing some stuff out and playing with it, and it's a lot of fun. If you'd rather just create like a dungeon crawl, it's very easily doable. You can just throw down creatures, you can modify their stats. If you want to just make them stronger in some shape or form, you can just level them up really quickly. If you want to specifically get into the nitty gritty of them and like actually change their full attributes, you can do that. I mean, you can change anything about them. You can even quite literally give them a higher initiative, nothing for no more reason than just to say this one's got a higher initiative than those ones, and you can do it. You can assign them gear. You can assign them to have the loot that drops. If you prefer not to do it that way, where you don't have them giving out, like creatures don't give out loot drops, there's a reward system where you can quite literally say, I want to give this character this much XP or this much gold, or I want to just make them level up automatically. And then you can select the characters you want these things to apply to, and then hit accept, and it immediately gives them those things. So you can make your life as in-depth as you like, or you can make it a very simple foray, and it's all up to you. You can be very simple in it. You can just be, we roll some dice, move some mice, nobody gets hurt. Or you can be like, hey guys, I've decided to throw this dragon at you. I'm going to have you play through the game, but I'm also going to possess it. I'm going to play the dragon as the GM, and I'm going to fuck your day up. And you can do that. It's amazingly fun, and it's a very in-depth system. So if you were looking for something to spice up your Divinity life, that would be something I would say check it out. There's a lot to do in there, and there are tons of tutorials. Larion Studios themselves have actually created tutorials on how to show you around stuff. They have a my starter, my first campaign that they've put in there that'll give you tutorials on everything, explain everything, give you a very, very short story that your character can run through, and tell them some things that can happen or may not happen. And that will be there for you to check out and see. Or you can create up your own ones, or if there are other people out there who have created mods and whatnot, if they've created their own campaigns, you can publish them and you can bring them in, and
That's
you
cool.
can play them as well. So other people have made these whole campaigns. You can immediately just pull it in, download it, bam! Now your character, your friends, and you are going through the story, and you can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, it's always nice. Shadowrun, the Shadowrun games have similar. I've played some of like other people's random campaigns.
Yeah,
So
it's
I don't know if you can do it in not multiplayer, but yeah.
I mean, you can do this all in multiplayer,
Right.
Which I mean, obviously is a blast. I like the fact that I can bring friends in and whatnot. There's again limit is 4 people. Unfortunately, is the only thing. So if you want a party size of like for your players
that-
at least like 5 or 6, that won't happen. It's the GM and 4 players. That's
Okay,
it.
so 5 people can be playing.
Yeah, 5 people playing, but one's just going to be the GM.
Right. That's cool.
Unfortunately, that's the only downside. If you want to do 1, 2, or 3 players, you can also do that too. I mean, those are all possible. But if you want to go higher, that's not. It's 4 players and that's it. GM, 4 players, done. Of course, there's more to it. I've also been kind of getting into the modding of the game a little bit. Nothing deep, but the modding system is actually also incredibly user friendly. It allows you to do a lot of stuff. It gives you access to tons of things. They again have more guides on that. Larion Studios themselves have created a web page that you can go to that will like do and they quite literally call it my first ... meaning my first skill, my first weapon, and they will give you a guide on how to create your first of anything. And then from there, it's kind of left for you to do it. They would have they have like a tutorial on how to create your own first stage using the assets of the game as well, and showing you how to kind of create the level and change like the height of thing, painting it different colors, and they essentially create a bridge across an area. They show you how to do that too through a YouTube video as well. A lot of stuff is just very user friendly. It's very easy to access. You can download the stuff and you can get right into it. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. In fact, it's not hard by any means, and their own guides kind of help you out with a lot of stuff. The only downside is that there is some limitations on it. As powerful of a tool as this is, there are some limitations, and that's the unfortunate part. For instance, if you want to change like the coloring to a certain skill or something to make like a new version of that skill, that's not possible from what I can tell. It is the color schemes set to certain skills are set to them like that. So if you want to like say make a frost ray as opposed to the laser ray skill in the game, unfortunately it's not going to be really possible to change the coloring of it. You can change all the effects and stuff, and you can change how it works, but it'll still look like a fire ray. But at least the ray itself will look like a fire ray, But
doggos.
yeah, I know. Apologies. Give me a second.
It's fine. You're good, man.
But you can't do some like stuff. You can't just change color of things, which kind of sucks because ever in my time when I was doing modding stuff for Warcraft 3, the Four O's and Throne, that was something you could actually do. When you brought up like a spell or something, you could just literally change the coloring of the spell. You could create a copy of it and go like, oh, do you want to change the coloring of it? Sure. Here you go. Now it looks like now your Frost Blast turned into a Fire Blast, and all you had to do is change the color and some of the data and how it works. So there was that. But overall, it's been a wonderful system. I've liked it a lot, and I recommend to anybody who wants, again, to play more with the system, I definitely recommend checking out the GM mode. It's a blast.
It sounds like if you like the game and you once upon a time experimented heavily in RPG Maker, this is probably something for you.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that's probably on the right place to go.
Because the game plays well. It's got a good system and stuff.
That it does.
That's probably one of the best things about the just being able to mess around and make stuff with it, to be honest with you, is that you just have a good game to build upon as well. So
Yep.
yeah, just you'll have to let us know when you make stuff how it goes down.
Sure, I'll let you know.
We're in waiting. Maybe I should name the title of this episode. Wait and see. Come back 10 episodes later, and we'll have more to tell you.
Yeah,
we need a sequel for this episode.
We need a sequel.
How do I feel about Final Fantasy XIV at the end? How do we feel about Infinity War after we've seen it? How does Tets feel about World Anvil after he's messed around with it some? And meta about the GM tool. We'll have an episode in 10 weeks where we all come back to these same topics.
All right, we'll make it. We'll put this. We'll pin it. We'll put a pin.
I'm
it.
holding you to it.
Boom. It will be the sequel you didn't know you wanted. That will be the name of the next episode. All right, this has been episode 49 of Podcast of Five Rings, your source of enlightenment in the realm of video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast of Five Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes and SoundCloud, and Talk About Topic day by day on YouTube, with the full video releasing on Friday. Check us out on Twitter at Podcast5R, Facebook, P5R Podcast. Meta, as he said, is streaming Mondays or Tuesdays, playing his Divinity with them. So maybe you'll get to see some of his world building stuff. He does that. They're at twitch.tv/PSOFlow. And we have been streaming every once in a while on our Twitch page, Podcast of Five Rings. So check us out. We're going to go enjoy our weekends. Enjoy not having to deal with technical difficulties that have plagued this episode. We've been sitting here for almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's like the E3 episode all over again.
Oh, God.
Get ready for that in 2 months, guys. Can't you wait? You can smell E3 in the air.
I can smell it.
The musk is traveling all the way from the West Coast.
Baby.
Back through time into my nostrils. That's the pollen.
Man.
That's the pollen. But until next time, we'll see you guys.
Later.
Goodbye. Coma time. Sleepies.